Tonight on CTV News at 6, Canada officially measles-free no more. 3 decades without the disease, done.
And for the last 10 years, the messaging of the negatives of vaccination have drowned out those about the positive.
A landfill fire seen and smelt across West Edmonton.
I was laying in my bed just right there, and all of a sudden there's a big kaboom.
And what's ailing the Oilers?
Dave McKinnon charging in, shooting, and scoring.
Another concerning start to a season.
If I'm at the top of my game, you know, we always have a chance to win. If I'm not, then there's a good chance we're losing.
The warm spell continues for a few more days. No sign of any real cool down until the end of this week.
CTV Edmonton, local breaking news with Jeff Hastings.
Good evening. Canada has lost its measles elimination status thanks to outbreaks of the disease that have lasted more than a year, including here in Alberta. The Pan American Health Organization, which made the ruling, says losing the status is a setback, but it is reversible. Jeremy Thompson joins us now in studio. And Jeremy, Canada was measles-free for nearly 3 decades.
Yeah, Jeff, it was. In fact, the measles vaccine is effective and has been widely available in Canada since the 60s. That's why one infectious diseases specialist I spoke with believes these measles outbreaks represent a communications failure by government.
Policy hasn't really changed. Governments haven't really changed, but the messaging has. And for the last 10 years, the messaging of the negatives of vaccination have drowned out those about the positive.
In the last 12 months, Canada has recorded more than 5,000 measles cases, with transmission happening mostly among certain communities with low vaccination rates. To be considered measles-free, a country must stop the spread of the virus with no local transmission for at least 1 year. The press secretary for Health Minister Adriana LaGrange says the province is promoting vaccination and has seen a marked increase in uptake, especially in the north and south health zones, where the bulk of Alberta's roughly 2,000 cases have been registered. Madison McKee says there are currently 2 active cases in Alberta, a number that has remained stable for several weeks. There are 2 patients in hospital, and there have never been more than 5 at any time. Canada's Public Health Agency says that is good news.
Everything's pointing in the right direction. Unfortunately, we couldn't stop the outbreak completely in time to lose our elimination status. But the direction of travel is that we will get it back.
The Public Health Agency says regaining Canada's elimination status for measles will take work. Once people with active cases recover, Canada must closely monitor the situation to prove the disease isn't spreading. It must also demonstrate we have sufficient overall vaccination rates to achieve herd immunity. That is around 95%. Now, losing the status doesn't come with any penalties for Canadians, but the doctors and infectious disease specialists CTV spoke with say it's disappointing, even embarrassing for Canada, given how safe and accessible the measles vaccine is. Jeff.
All right, Jeremy, thank you. Jeremy Thompson live tonight. Alberta has recorded its first flu death of the season. A woman in central Alberta in her 60s has died. 8 people have required intensive care treatment. There have been 375 cases of influenza this flu season so far. Doctors say this flu season is expected to be a tough one. The dominant strain of influenza, H3N2, has caused serious illness in the United Kingdom and in Australia, areas that are considered early predictors of what's headed our way.
H3N2 is can tend to be a little bit more severe, and more importantly, our vaccines are not quite as good at dealing with that.
But people who are vaccinated have a lower risk of severe illness, hospitalization, ICU admission, and tragically death. So we do still encourage people, even if there's a mismatch, to take that shot that affords some protection.
The flu shot is available at pharmacies for those aged 5 and older at no cost. Ottawa's budget roadshow rolled into Calgary today as talks to end Alberta's long-running energy disputes with Ottawa appear close to a deal. CTV's Kevin Green reports.
The federal finance minister brought his sales pitch for Ottawa's new budget to Calgary, highlighting what the feds call a plan for a stronger, cleaner economy.
The fact that the prime minister changed the tone to talk about an energy superpower in both clean and conventional energy, I think has really changed how people perceive these things. I think even people I would see at the grocery store, they understand today the nexus between economic security, energy security, and national security.
Champagne told Calgary business leaders the government is working closely with the province to finalize deals on energy and emissions.
How do we deal with the regulatory uncertainty? Because it's one thing to say that, we're looking at ways to increase investment, but we really need to deal with the regulatory challenges. And so that's the other piece, and that's the risk management piece that I actually asked the minister about. But the energy sector, I think, is encouraged.
Champagne's message comes as talks between Ottawa and Alberta over oil and gas caps, pipelines, and tanker policy edge towards a possible deal. Last week, Danielle Smith was all smiles meeting Carney, and on her weekend radio show, she hinted a deal is imminent.
We've been going back and forth now daily on a memorandum of understanding, and I hope that we're able to iron out some of the differences that we have in time for Grey Cup or shortly after.
But Monday in Fredericton, the Prime Minister said it will likely be sooner than that.
They're built with Indigenous partners, they're consistent with their climate goals, and they have a real economic return. And so you would expect to see some of those in the announcement later this week.
A spokesperson for Enbridge says the federal changes have the company optimistic but cautious, saying in a statement to CTV, what we can't lose sight of, however, is that in order for large energy projects to move forward, the federal government must make various policy changes. This includes simplifying regulations, shortening timelines for project approvals, committing to actions that help unlock production growth, and enhancing Indigenous engagement. Champagne hopes to walk out of Calgary with the endorsement of the city's business community because before any of the Liberals' major project plans can become reality, they must first get that budget passed, despite having minority in Parliament.
The man accused of killing 14-year-old Samuel Bird is expected to be in court next month. Brian Farrell was scheduled to be in court this morning, but his case was put over to December. He did not make an appearance. Farrell is charged with second-degree murder and interfering with a body. A group of supporters for the teen rallied outside the courthouse this morning. And this weekend, family, friends, and supporters attended Bird's funeral. The teen disappeared at the beginning of June. His body was found in October. Hundreds of community members searched for the teen. Bird's grandfather says he is grateful for the support.
We're happy that he was found. We could get closer because for 4 months, we didn't know where he was. And there's a lot of missing people that are still grieving because they don't know where the loved one is. We were fortunate to have found my grandson. So we're happy he's found, but it's sad that we're putting him to rest.
Samuel Bird would have turned 15 in September. A teen has been charged in a shooting near White Avenue last month. In late October, police were called about a weapon outside a restaurant at 85th Ave and Gateway Boulevard. EPS says a group of people were fighting when shots were fired. A woman and 3 men were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. An 18-year-old man was arrested at a home in northwest Edmonton and now faces charges that include assault with a weapon and aggravated assault. Edmonton police are looking for witnesses in video after an EPS vehicle hit a woman near 115th Ave and 97th Street. This happened 2 weeks ago. Police say the 29-year-old pedestrian was not in a marked crosswalk at the time of the collision. The woman remains in hospital with serious injuries. A fire at a landfill just west of Edmonton has filled the sky with smoke. While the flames appear to be under control, the smell is expected to linger. CTV's Gates Guarin has more.
It was traumatic.
It wasn't the start to the day Corey Larrabee was expecting.
I was laying in my bed just right there, and all of a sudden there's a big kaboom.
The noise shook him out of his bed.
Our house shook as we live in a mobile home, so it's not like implanted in the ground. And I thought I was going crazy at first, so I messaged my neighbor across the street, but she was asleep. She didn't hear anything.
He quickly made a call to 911 and was told a fire was burning just on the other side of his West Edmonton street. Parkland County Fire Services says it started last night at the GFL landfill off 231st Street. Early this morning, bright orange flames lit up the sky. Fire and thick smoke could be seen from a distance. By daylight, the flames had died down, leaving behind a billowing cloud of smoke and haze, which blew across the highway and into communities nearby.
My neighbor was outside with me. We were watching the flames. We could see the flames going up in the sky, all the smoke coming just over these houses over here.
The county says the fire ignited in an area with a mix of construction and demolition waste and has grown to the size of about 5 CFL football fields. It says site owner GFL Waste Management is working to contain the fire. Parkland County says shifting winds may continue to carry smoke into the city and surrounding communities. Gates Gorin, CTV News, Edmonton.
Following a tough loss Saturday night, the Edmonton Oilers find themselves mired in a 3-game losing streak. The Oilers are back on the ice tonight, hosting the Columbus Blue Jackets. After today's morning skate, the talk was all about turning the team around following a 9-1 drubbing by the Avalanche over the weekend. Brendan Purdy joins us now. Brendan, what is the team doing to get out of their current funk with 1 win in the last 2 weeks?
Well, Jeff, things haven't been pretty for the Oilers since the end of October. Now, over these last 2 weeks, the team owns a 1-3-1 record, dropping out of the Western Conference playoff picture.
Nate McKinnon charging in, shooting, and scoring.
Adding insult to injury, Saturday's 9-1 loss tied a franchise mark for the squad's most lopsided home defeat, equaling a 10-2 setback at the hands of the Buffalo Sabres back in January of 2009. Now, both the coaching staff and players believe slight changes are needed to rebound from this latest slump.
You don't need every guy playing at their absolute best. This is not the time for that. But you need, a B+ game from everyone. And if you have a B+ game from most guys and some guys are playing great, then you can, you start to look like a team.
I think, the things that Leon's talking about are the things that can be done easily. Like just your work ethic, you have a stick on the ice, you're skating, you finish your check, you're in position. Like those things don't take a whole lot of talent.
Goaltender Stuart Skinner was pulled halfway through Saturday night's game. Reflecting on his play ahead of his 12th start this season, Skinner's self-assessment is simple.
If I'm at the top of my game, we always have a chance to win. If I'm not, then there's a good chance we're losing. That's every goalie in the league. If you have a bad night, you're probably most of the time you're probably not winning a game. So yeah, it's this is all a really good test for me and a really good challenge for us as a group.
Roster changes are coming tonight. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is out for at least a week with an undisclosed injury. Matthias Janmark checking in for him, making his debut this season. Another roster swap up front. We'll see Curtis Lazar come in for David Tomaszek, who's put up 3 points in 13 games so far this year. Now, the Oil currently have 16 points. This time last year, they had 17, and the year before, only 11. Now, both of those seasons ended up in trips to the Stanley Cup final. Jeff?
All right. Thank you very much, Brendan. Edmonton will host 2 games during the PWHL Takeover Tour. Edmonton first hosted a professional women's hockey league game back in February. It was played in front of a sold-out crowd at Rogers Place. Edmonton will host Vancouver and Minnesota December 27th, then Vancouver and Boston April 7th. Tickets go on sale Friday. For the first time in 23 years, 2 of the Guess Who's founding members are reuniting for a Canadian tour. Randy Bachman and Burton Cummings are bringing their Taking It Back tour to Rogers Place June 10th. The last time the Guess Who performed together was 2003 in Toronto. Tickets for Edmonton's show goes on sale Friday with pre-sale tickets available tomorrow. That was a great day today, Josh.
Yeah, 13 degrees for a daytime high, and I think we'll get to about 9 or 10 for a high tomorrow. So, as we mentioned right off the top of the newscast, the warm spell continues for a few more days. Take a look at the almanac. Average daytime high is 2. So we were 11 degrees warmer than that, and just a handful of degrees off the record high of 17 from 2005. Started the day at 3 degrees, and I think we'll stay above 0 again overnight tonight, although we've slipped to 6 in downtown Edmonton right now. Still a little bit warmer off to the west and northwest at 7 degrees. There's all the cloud cover that slid through this afternoon. And then in the last hour or so, we've been getting some breaks in the cloud. Take a look outside right now through the lens of the CTV drone. And, well, it's tough to make that because it's so dark. Tough to make out the breaks in the cloud. That's amazing, the difference between 5 and 6 p.m. on that shot. There are some gaps in the cloud cover, though, that we'll continue to see through this evening. And then early tomorrow morning, skies really start to clear out nicely. And for most of tomorrow, we're looking at mainly sunny to partly cloudy skies. And the wind should be light through the first half of the day. I do think it'll get a little bit gusty mid to late afternoon as we hit our high of 9 or 10 degrees around 3 or 4 o'clock. But for Remembrance Day ceremonies, this will be the warmest in about a decade. Temperatures at 11 a.m. tomorrow should be in the 7-degree range. That's the warmest since it was 6 degrees at 11 a.m. back in 2016. The average is -3 at 11 a.m. on Remembrance Day. So another warm one tomorrow. It does cool off towards the end of the week, though. Could see some more snow on Friday as well. We'll get into all those details in a couple minutes.
Thank you, Josh. Coming up on CTV News at 6, a small token that goes a long way.
Seeing a smiling vet walk out the door, our job's been done.
How you can support those who served our country, also coming up.
So moving forward, we hope to have this as a regular staple in our policing service. That we
Leduc RCMP team up with the city to address public disorder.
Wednesday on CTV Edmonton. Our new series looks at the banker who had it all. Mansions, muscle cars, and millions of dollars. With just one catch, none of it was really his. Inside the 2002 investigation of Nick Lissick, coming up Wednesday on the Crime Tapes.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
The Veterans Association Food Bank has become a safe haven for veterans and their families over the past few years. As CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti reports, the food bank needs donations to help those who served our country.
Ruth Hannes-Windsor and her veteran husband know all too well the stresses that come with military life.
Saying goodbye on the tarmac as they get on the planes to leave and all the prep that it takes. It's devastating.
Those stresses don't end after service.
The ladies group that I belong to has been exponential in me understanding post-traumatic stress disorder.
As we get ready to commemorate Remembrance Day, Hannes-Windsor says it's bittersweet.
I usually cry. It brings back very challenging memories.
They have been using the services of the Veterans Association Food Bank for 4 months. While the food bank supports vets in their next chapter, it also helps their families find community. Warehouse manager Ted Lewis served in the military for 37 years. He says helping vets get back on their feet not only helps them, but him as well.
It helps with my mental issues that I've experienced from being overseas and whatnot.
Around 250 veteran families come through here to receive hampers monthly.
Most have pride, right? And it's not easy to have to come and say help, but that's what we're here for. We're here to help.
What I get from the Veterans Association is seeing a smiling vet walk out the door, our job's been done.
As Remembrance Day honors those who have served in the military, the food bank hopes people can serve those vets back with donations. Canned items, coffee, and pet food are their biggest asks.
Some people might think coffee's not a big deal, but when you've got very little going for you, a cup of coffee in the morning, makes a difference.
A small token of thanks for their courage and sacrifice. Miriam Valdez-Carletti, CTV News, Edmonton.
Leduc RCMP is teaming up with the city to crack down on public disorder while helping people in need. The RCMP says a recent one-day project targeted crime while also connecting vulnerable people with supports like housing and mental health and addiction services. It says 3 encampments were dismantled, 6 packages containing safety supplies were handed out, and 7 people accepted follow-up services. 5 arrests were also made and 6 warrants were issued.
We've seen some great success with the project. So moving forward, we hope to have this as a regular staple in our policing service that we provide to the citizens of Leduc.
Last year, the city's only shelter shut its doors. Mayor Lars Hansen says it's going to take the entire community to address the city's problems.
We're working collaboratively as the city and with our enforcement services to focus on both the enforcement aspect and the caring aspect to ensure that we're connecting vulnerable residents with social supports to find positive outcomes.
Hansen says Leduc's new council has had discussions with the hub and will continue to. Still ahead, time to retire.
And let the younger generation continue.
After 35 years, a popular karaoke bar gets new owners, also ahead.
Every other province has some real solid gatekeepers stopping beers from outside the province.
Despite vows from leaders to limit trade barriers, small and craft alcohol producers say their product isn't flowing.
13 degrees for a high today. Should be in double digits for one more day tomorrow. And then by the end of the week, things really take a turn for the cooler. We'll talk more about that after the break.
Programming brought to you by Century Casino. 3 great locations: Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile.
Closing time arrived for Evolution Wonder Lounge this weekend. It has been Edmonton's only LGBTQ2S+ nightclub for years. The bar is not gone for good. It's moving. Still, a bittersweet goodbye for many. Connor Hogg reports.
The promise of one last dance at Evolution Wonder Lounge brought out a large crowd to funnel down the stairs one last time. Even though the 12-year-old bar is only moving, not closing, attendees say they had to be here to send the old location off properly.
This place is special. I feel comfortable here. Evo has been like a very fundamental, like foundational place for me.
For a lot of people, this is their first gay bar. This is the first space that they came to where they felt safe and accepted and not a minority. And that's going to be pretty emotional for a lot of people.
Rob Browatsky is the co-owner of Evolution Wonder Lounge. Over the next week, he'll be working to move the rest of the family-owned business over to the new location.
I think that certainly for the first few weeks at the new space, I'm going to not think about this space at all. But I know that there will come a time, whether that's in 6 weeks or 6 months or 6 years, when I'll be like, wow, I do miss that little dark basement bar.
Browatsky says Edmonton has had a number of high-profile nightclub closures over the years, some advertised and some catching the community by surprise. He says he always promised that when this one closed, there would be a lot of advance notice. While running this club hasn't always been a waltz for him, he understands how many will miss the old space.
My goal is to just let myself believe it when people come up and tell me what the space or the staff or myself have meant to them over the last 12 years.
Just feel that sense of belonging is like so important to the human experience.
While the mirror ball will stop turning on 103rd, dancing will continue at the new Evo location on Jasper Avenue next weekend. Connor Hogg, CTV News, Edmonton.
The owners of a popular karaoke bar in Edmonton are hanging up their mics.
It's too long. That's why I decided to quit it.
Let the young people continue, you need to continue, right? And let the younger generation continue.
Gordy Ma and Terry Yu have owned Rosie's Bar and Grill for 35 years. They're retiring and have sold the business. The bar is located off White Ave and hosts karaoke most nights. The pair say Rosie's is popular because of the camaraderie.
The traditional karaoke style is that one man singing on the stage and then everybody listen, right? So we're changing it around as we encourage people singing together.
The new owners are renovating the space and plan to reopen in December. It will continue to host karaoke. Josh, a lot of people going to be outside late tomorrow morning for Remembrance Day ceremonies. Will they be warm?
Yeah, well, as we mentioned earlier in the newscast, it'll be the warmest at 11 a.m. tomorrow that it's been in almost a decade. 2016 was the last time it will be as warm as it will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. River Valley Sky Camps brought to you by Action Furnace. Fixed right, it's free. 6 degrees right now. In fact, it'll be in that 6-7 degree range at 11 o'clock tomorrow as you're outside. 13 degrees for a daytime high today. This came in late this morning. 10 degrees in Fort McMurray. Grand Prairie got to 9 today. You get some mid-teens here from Red Deer off to the south and southeast. So it was a really warm day. And I think we may see the return of these mid-teen temperatures for the next couple of days through southern Alberta. The question really for Wednesday, Thursday is how far north does that stretch? and I think it'll probably get no further north than the Red Deer area. There's your clouds that we're rolling through this afternoon. There's the breaks in the cloud that we had in the last hour or so, and then now it looks like there's another little bank of cloud cover that briefly will go through. Further off to the northeast, off to the east, northeast of Fort McMurray, you've had a little bit of wet snow, and there may actually be a little bit of patchy precipitation in the northeast again late in the day tomorrow. Here in the Edmonton region, though, just a few clouds overnight tonight, and then mainly sunny to partly cloudy skies through the afternoon tomorrow. There's your chances east central and northeastern Alberta for some really, really spotty precipitation. For the most part, it's going to stay dry across most of the province. Watch this warm air in the dark greens and then the yellows. Hangs around a little bit, fades a little bit to the south, but it hangs around through Wednesday, Thursday, and then you start to see some of this cooler air take over for Friday and the weekend. Not dramatically colder, but back closer to average and somewhere in the -1 to +3 range for daytime highs. 7 degrees in Fort McMurray right now. It's 5 in Grand Prairie, 5 and 6 in Red Deer and Edmonton, and the wind has been fairly light here in the Edmonton region. May pick up a little bit, though, around 3-4 p.m. as temperatures peak. You could see wind 15 gusting to maybe 30 kilometers per hour. But through the overnight period and tomorrow morning, wind should be 5 to 15 kilometers per hour, so not a huge factor. 2 degrees tomorrow morning, and by lunchtime already up to 8 as we hit that high of 9 or 10 mid-afternoon. 6 degrees Wednesday, Thursday, a little cloudier there Thursday, and then a chance of some wet snow or maybe even a rain-snow mix on Friday as temperatures cool slightly. We're back to +2 on Friday, right around the freezing mark, it looks like, on Saturday. Next Wednesday, November 19th, if you want to help support BGC, Big Brothers Big Sisters of Edmonton and area, come on out. They're having Evening of Opportunity, opening doors to potential. For more information on how to get tickets, go to the BGC Bigs website, bgcbigs.ca. We'd love to see you there next Wednesday. Here's temperatures for next week, including next Wednesday, somewhere, as we said, in that -2 to +2 range for daytime highs. So enjoy the next couple of days, because it does look like once this cooler air starts to drop in by the end of this week, it'll stick around.
Will do. Thanks, Josh. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business is calling for the provinces to ditch the red tape that is holding back Canada's alcohol producers from selling to other provinces. CTV's Tyler Barrow has more on the challenges and what they say needs to be done.
Every day, Toolshed Brewing produces approximately 10,000 cans of beer. Less than 10% end up on liquor store shelves outside Alberta.
Every other province has some real solid gatekeepers stopping beers from outside the province getting in without a lot of work.
Sherman has been able to get his products to shelves in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and BC, but it has not been easy.
Working on trying to get our beer into Ontario, but it requires a lot of lab testing, and you know, it's incredible to see what actually goes into getting it across that goal line.
Here at Bridgeland Distillery, only recently was it able to get into Saskatchewan, thanks largely to the trade war between Canada and the United States.
Simpler to look at markets like Japan and the UK than looking at Ontario and BC.
A recent report by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business highlights the major roadblocks Canada's small and craft alcohol producers face despite recent agreements made to ease trade restrictions. It points to outdated rules and complicated processes.
Fixing these issues should be a priority for Canadian governments, especially in light of the U.S. trade tensions.
The CFIB is calling on provinces to add alcohol to the Mutual Recognition Agreement on goods, allowing it to flow more freely across the country. The group also says all provinces and territories need to do more. The Ministry of Service Alberta and Red Tape claims it's doing its part, saying, "We continue to lead the nation in knocking down trade barriers for the liquor industry, providing all liquor manufacturers, regardless of their province or country, with the opportunity to sell their products in Alberta." Producers here in Calgary say change can't come soon enough.
And I just don't want the premiers to stop talking about lowering the interprovincial barriers, whether it's beer or anything else.
The new reality is there's lots of competition out there with tariff, non-tariff, and so on. We need to make more room for Canadian content.
Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Calgary.
Still to come, provincial wish lists.
We've been working hard on a number of projects, and the announcement won't be the Interties. It will be one of the other projects that we've been pushing for.
Mark Carney's major projects list expands this week, and
anyone's to claim in the air.
bicycle kick in a blizzard. Stay with us.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
The Prime Minister was out selling his budget on the East Coast today, meeting with New Brunswick's Premier Susan Holt. Mark Carney then announced the next segment of major projects will be revealed Thursday. Here's CTV's Mike Couture.
With this next round of major projects, the government will face even more pressure to please every province. And the Prime Minister was providing few hints as to where they will go.
The next round of major projects is going to be announced later this week. On Thursday.
So we know when, but we don't know what will be announced in the second phase of the so-called nation-building projects. New Brunswick was left off the first list in September, but Premier Susan Holt is hopeful that won't happen this time.
We've been working hard on a number of projects, and the announcement won't be the interties. It will be one of the other projects that we've been pushing for.
The first round of projects to have federal support included LNG expansion in BC, a small modular reactor project in Ontario, expanded port facilities in Montreal, and 2 mines in Western Canada. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is pushing for a bitumen pipeline to Tidewater to be on the next list. On her radio show this weekend, she said she's in discussions with the federal government.
We've been going back and forth now daily on a memorandum of understanding, and I hope that we're able to iron out some of the differences that we have in time for Grey Cup or shortly after.
BC's Premier has pushed back on a pipeline running through his province, but Prime Minister Carney hasn't ruled one out, possibly dropping a hint last Friday.
One of the things don't worry, we're on the pipeline stuff. Danielle's on line 1. Don't worry, it's going to happen. But well, something's going to happen, let's put it that way.
The Prime Minister's announcement will be in Prince Rupert, BC, perhaps an indication that province will see the approval of another major project. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada Post has submitted a plan to the federal government to make its business model financially sustainable. In September, Ottawa gave the Crown Corporation 45 days to deliver a blueprint. Canada Post says it won't share details of its proposal until it's approved by the government. The corporation has experienced billions of dollars in annual losses over recent years. Leaders and climate experts from around the world are in Brazil this week for the start of the Global Climate Summit COP30. As CTV's Scott Hurst reports, on the agenda is how to rein in the climate crisis before catastrophic warming becomes inevitable.
International leaders are being urged to tackle the climate crisis with more urgency and more cooperation, but it comes at a time when some key global partners appear to be backing away from the climate fight.
I am very worried about Canada's participation, given that the recent signals that we have gotten from Prime Minister Carney and his government have only been about moving back on existing policy.
The Canadian delegation might face some criticism at the COP30 summit getting underway in Brazil as climate observers point to the recent budget that's big on development and an expansion of energy projects, but a retreat of some Trudeau-era climate policies. Environment Minister Julie DeBruzen, who's leading Canada's delegation, however, pitching the Liberals' climate competitiveness strategy as a shifting approach that she claims will connect climate ambitions with economic growth. But the framework is short on details and provides no update on where Canada stands on emission reduction targets.
This strategy connects our climate ambition with a plan for economic growth. It prioritizes measures that deliver the greatest emissions reductions and increases competitiveness at the lowest cost for Canadians.
To no surprise, U.S. President Donald Trump is not attending COP30. He's been critical of climate science and has pulled the U.S. from the landmark Paris Agreement of a decade ago, meant as a framework to hold nations accountable in limiting warming. That's leading to questions about the relevancy of the summit and its ability to pull nations together when some are pulling back. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
In Washington, there is finally some hope that the longest government shutdown in U.S. history could be coming to an end. 8 Democrats voted to advance a compromise deal last night, clearing an initial hurdle in the Senate. The bill could bring relief to families whose food subsidies have been disrupted, as well as to thousands of federal workers who've gone unpaid and travelers who faced canceled flights. The Senate has advanced the plans. Now the Republican-controlled House must also sign off on the bill, and the president would need to sign it into law. The Canadian Premier Soccer League final was held in Ottawa as a record-breaking snowfall came down, and it led to a goal sure to be remembered.
Anyone's to claim in the air. Bicycle! Oh my God! The most incredible goal in CPL history!
A rare bicycle kick goal, or in this case, icicle kick. Those ice-cold acrobatics from David Rodriguez helped lead Atletico Ottawa to win the North Star Cup, defeating Calgary's Cavalry FC. Still ahead, we hear from veterans of the Second World War.
I enjoyed my time in the Air Force.
Their message for Canadians ahead of Remembrance Day. Checking on the markets, the Canadian dollar traded around 71 cents U.S. Oil was up 38 cents, closing at $60.13 a barrel. Gold gained more than $112. The TSX and Dow Jones both ended the day higher, up 404 points and 381 points. There is an opportunity for families to catch a free flick at select Cineplex locations across Canada this weekend. Saturday, November 15th is Community Day, benefiting Big Brothers Big Sisters. You can watch Sing 2, Puss in Boots, The Wild Robot, and The Minions Rise of Gru for free. For viewing times, check your local Cineplex website. Tickets are first come, first serve at the theater on Saturday. Tim Hortons is offering free coffee to veterans and armed forces members to mark Remembrance Day. The company says Canadian veterans and active duty military members who present a valid government-issued veteran service card or a military service ID card can receive a free hot beverage of their choice tomorrow. The promotion applies to all locations across Canada. Tim Hortons president says it is a gesture of appreciation for their service and sacrifice. Very few veterans who fought in the Second World War are still alive today. As we prepare to mark Remembrance Day, we hear from one of those veterans. CTV's Alex Carpa has more on Percy Rosamond and his message to Canadians.
102-year-old Percy Rosamond was just 19 when he joined the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1942.
I don't know why, but I enjoyed my time in the Air Force.
He was an aircraft mechanic during the war stationed in England, where he worked on Liberator bombers. Rosamond recalls his brother, who was an air gunner during the war, left England the same day he arrived.
I thought that was quite a novel thing to have happen.
101-year-old Andrew Prodanek was also 19 when he joined the war effort in 1943.
I tried to get into be a pilot, but all the positions were filled because this was near the end of the war, and so I took on navigation.
Prodanek trained in Brandon, Regina, Saskatoon, and ended up in Rivers, Manitoba. By the time his training was complete, the war was over. He says he has fond memories of his time in active duty.
It was very interesting work.
With Remembrance Day tomorrow, Prodanek and Rosamond will both remember friends who made the ultimate sacrifice. And with that, Rosamond is sharing a simple message.
Just never forget.
Both men live at this facility here in Winnipeg and are part of a dwindling number of Second World War veterans in Canada, a conflict where more than 1 million Canadians served.
2 men are spending hundreds of hours restoring a Second World War airplane in Penhold. The plane was discovered 4 years ago in a field near the Red Deer Regional Airport. It was the remains of a 1941 airspeed Oxford bomber used to train pilots during the Second World War. 2 men from Innisfail decided to restore the plane. Despite years of work, Vern Duick and David Kolesnik say there's plenty of work left to do. The plane won't be fully restored for another decade.
Well, we're volunteers with Harvard Historical Aviation Society in Penhold, and the society is trying to preserve all of the history of the airbase from World War II, because what they found is that history is slowly being lost if we don't preserve it. And so this is one part of that preservation, is this airplane that we're working on.
Both men are retired power engineers and say they've taken on the challenge in order to preserve history. Alberta's museums and historic sites saw a spike in attendance this summer. The province says there were more than 600,000 visits, an increase of 7% over last year. That's partly because more Canadians were taking vacations in Canada due to tensions with the U.S. The province also offered free admission to children and discounts to youth as part of the federal government's Canada Strong Pass initiative. Still ahead, more than just a toonie.
What I find really powers me, my core, is to inspire an interest in and concern for the welfare of the biosphere.
We'll introduce you to the Edmonton illustrator behind dozens of Canadian mint coin designs. Stay with us.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you tonight on CTV. Programming brought to you by Southview Acura. Experience the elegance of the all-new Acura ADX.
A local artist has turned his love for dinosaurs into miniature works of art that you might find in your pocket. He was one of the exhibitors at this weekend's coin exchange. Miriam Valdez-Carletti has more.
You may not know his face, but you might recognize his work. Julius Chutney is an Edmonton illustrator behind more than 40 coins with the Royal Canadian Mint.
I just love seeing people enjoying things, and I love it when I get to do work that highlights the natural world. For me, that's a big deal as a biologist and a conservation-minded person.
Chutney has been designing coins for the Mint since 2011, each one different, but with a similar message.
What I find really powers me, my core, is to inspire an interest in and concern for the welfare of the biosphere.
He's designed 3D coin models, black light-activated coins, and unique shapes fit for a dinosaur. Anything his imagination can create.
The printer has its limitations. At the same time, I want to be able to put so much detail into it that people can look at it and say, wow, look at all that. I didn't notice that until I looked closer.
Details that make these coins worth keeping for collectors.
I would have to say I'm really partial to really shiny coins, but I also like to get coins that are that have some history to them.
The detail, and sometimes there's a story behind them too, that I think that make them unique.
Collectors could also exchange coins for 3 new ones issued by the Mint, highlighting the 150th anniversary of the Supreme Court, Canada's unknown soldier, and Indigenous artist Daphne Ojij.
Coin collectors flock to these events as we only strike 3 million of these. So 2 million are colored and 1 million's uncolored.
Creating memories of collecting is what makes them so special.
And I've always done since I was a little kid with my dad, and he's the one who kind of got us into it.
There's a young man that I share my coins with as well, and he's passionate about coins. He's only about 11, and so I like to encourage that in people.
While most of these coins aren't used as currency, their stories are priceless. Miriam Valdez-Carletti, CTV News, Edmonton.
Another warm one tomorrow, 2 degrees in the morning for Remembrance Day ceremonies. Temperature should be around 7 degrees. We'll get to a high of about 9 or 10 by mid-afternoon, and then temperatures will start to cool a little bit. Still way above average for Wednesday, Thursday, about 6 degrees Wednesday, Thursday, and then closer to 0 for highs for Friday and through the weekend. Could see some wet snow or maybe a little rain-snow mix on the way for Friday. Could be back-to-back Fridays with a little bit of snow. Temperatures will get a lot closer to average through the weekend and all of next week. So if you haven't put up your lights yet, next couple of days will be a good day to do it.
I should probably do that, shouldn't I?
Yeah. All right. You and I both.
Thanks, Josh, and thanks for sharing your time with us. For news anytime, ctvnewsedmonton.ca. Have a great night.